You missed a customer after the call, but you're not sure why. The script was ready. Your voice was trained. The product had value. Yet after the call, all that remained was a long beep and cold silence. Behind every rejection lies a small mistake, repeated over and over, quietly burning through your sales numbers. Meanwhile, your competitor isn't doing anything extraordinary. They just know how to call the right person, at the right time, in the right way. From being hung up on constantly, they became someone worth listening to. And you, still guessing the reasons behind your failures. The phone isn't wrong. The problem lies in how you're using it. It's time to revisit every single touch point in your call to uncover those seemingly minor details that are powerful enough to turn your entire sales outcome around. Part 1. Overcoming the hesitation to make calls. In today's business world, hesitation isn't laziness, it's fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being ignored, fear of not being persuasive enough. These fears turn the phone into a heavy, intimidating mental barrier. Many unconsciously create a slew of valid excuses like making coffee, checking emails, or chatting with coworkers to avoid the simplest action, picking up the phone. But don't forget, action creates emotion, not the other way around. Starting is the boldest step. If you keep waiting for motivation, you'll end up stagnant, drained, and losing control of your performance. No one succeeds by avoidance. The only solution is to act before you feel ready. Don't calculate, don't reason, don't wait for the perfect mood. Set a minimum call number in your mind. Pick up the phone and make that first call when your brain is trying to find an excuse to delay. That's when you're training your sales willpower, not just doing a task. Once you've broken past that first wall, what you need next is a clear compass to avoid wasting a single second of each call. Part 2. The call objective. Critical action metric. A common mistake many make in phone sales is measuring work by time rather than output. 1 hour of calling means nothing if only 5 calls are made. Time doesn't produce results. The number of attempts does. Without a clear goal for call count, the mind gets distracted and tricked by the illusion of being busy. Busy but unproductive is the cruelest kind of waste. Work must be measured with hard metrics. Instead of sitting down and promising to call more today, define a specific number, 30 calls a day, or 50, depending on your capacity and industry, but there must be a baseline to create positive pressure. The real reason to track dial counts is because it's the only part of the sales chain you fully control. You can't control whether the customer picks up, but you can control dialing. By mastering the root factor, you gain full initiative. Turn this metric into your core discipline. Don't wait till the end of the day to count. Track each small milestone like a speed game. For every X calls completed, mark a tick on the whiteboard or jot it down. Making it tangible boosts dopamine, keeping your focus and energy up. This mental game doesn't just crush boredom, it awakens your drive to conquer. As your call volume steadily grows, so will your number of real engagements. But even if your call numbers are solid, what truly determines your staying power is how you handle those cold, abrupt rejections. Part 3. Gamifying rejection. Restructure your response. Salespeople aren't rejected because the product is bad, but because their mindset isn't strong enough to coexist with indifference. Every call will eventually meet irritation, interruption, even yelling. It's not personal. But rookies often take it as a personal insult. They fall apart emotionally, not because of professional issues. When these emotions pile up, they start avoiding the phone like an enemy. Each negative reaction pulls them further from the starting line of their sales career. To break this vicious cycle, you must change your perspective entirely. Don't take every rejection as a personal judgment. View the call as a chessboard. Every move is part of the game. The person rejecting you is simply moving a piece by instinct. Once you understand this, the burden lifts. Gamifying calls isn't a joke, it's emotional mastery. It shifts you from victim to strategic player. Create your own rules of the game. For every rejection, mark a plus sign. For every insult, award yourself an experience point. When you hit 10 points, reward yourself with something small. Or race yourself. I'll get 20 rejections before stopping today. This mindset not only breaks rejection's negative impact, but helps you redefine failure altogether. Then, instead of backing off, you move forward, not because you're numb, but because you know how to turn pain into power. Once you've mastered turning rejection into a mental game, it's time to shift your entry timing to maximize attention. Part 4. Off-peak calling, low frequency, high impact. Most salespeople make calls during the same time slots, 10:11:30 a.m. and 1:03 p.m. These are the sales industry's rush hours. This creates a paradox: the more people call, the less customers listen. They're busy handling work, bombarded by similar calls. You end up lost in a sea of noise. All your efforts get reflexively rejected. Calling at the wrong time is putting yourself at a disadvantage, where your success rate hits rock bottom. Instead of joining the crowd, go against the flow. Start early, when offices are quiet and minds are fresh, or call at day's end, when most others have already put the phone down. These off hours are golden moments to directly reach decision makers. No gatekeepers, no distractions. You become the only standout on the line. And the real opportunity begins right there. You need to recalibrate your personal work schedule to fit this strategy. Wake earlier, start dialing before 8 a.m., or save a final hour between 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. No need to call more, just call the right people at the right time. Observe responses during these time frames and refine your target audience. Those who master a distinct call rhythm are the ones who break traditional resistance patterns and score when competition is low. But timing alone isn't enough. What truly affects customers is the sound you transmit through the phone. Part 5. Remove the salesy voice. Rebuild authentic perception. The issue isn't that you're making calls. The issue is how you're perceived the moment you start speaking. Customers take just seconds to judge. Is this a sales call? A voice soaked in fake enthusiasm, overly high-pitched, fast, and awkward immediately triggers red flags in the listener's mind. Their defense mechanisms kick in instantly. They're no longer listening. They're looking for an exit. And sadly, we, the callers, often don't realize this is silently sabotaging every contact. The change isn't in the script. It's in the tone and rhythm. Slow down your speech. Lower your voice slightly below normal. Take a deep breath before dialing. Imagine the person on the other end as a colleague, not a target to conquer. Authenticity travels through sound waves, through pauses, creating a subtle connection. The listener doesn't respond because you're amazing, but because you're unlike the people they've refused before. In that instant, you're received as a real person, not a sales act. To tune your voice, start with a simple step record yourself. You don't need the full call, just a few opening lines. Then listen as if you're the customer. You'll be surprised how different your voice sounds from what you imagined. It might be too fast, too forced, like you're trying to sell from your very first breath, and that, unintentionally, kills your chance of connection before it begins. Self-reflection is the first step to restoring authenticity. Once you've trained your voice to be smooth, slow, deep, and natural, remember this simple formula after every call. Did I sound like a real person? If the answer is yes, you're on the right track. If not sure, keep adjusting. Train your ear like a vocalist. A greeting with the right emotional tone can open doors thought to be closed. The first impression isn't in your words, it's in the energy your voice emits. Once your voice is authentic, the next step is breaking the unconscious defense patterns that block you from the very first sentence. Part 6. Pattern interrupt. Break customer defense reflex. In the first few seconds of a call, customers don't actually hear you, they're reacting. Their nervous system is already conditioned to typical openers like, "Hi, I'm calling from." These lines lack personality and instantly trigger unconscious rejection. Just like how we delete emails titled, "Special offer today" without reading, phone conversations are the same. A stale opening groups you with everyone they've avoided before. And you already know the result. To disrupt that reflex chain, you must create a moment that makes the listener pause, not with tricks, but with intentional deviation. For example, "Is now a bad time?" or "I've got 30 seconds to share something important. Is that okay?" These are simple but atypical openers. They force the customer to consciously process the situation. And in that moment, you've entered true communication, where they must listen before reacting. Effectiveness lies in intentional hesitation. A slight pause, a gentle uncertainty, and a brief stop after saying their name makes the opening feel like a call from someone they know, not a sales pitch. When the customer is expecting a familiar rhythm, even a small disruption makes their brain pause to interpret. That's the pattern interrupt moment, and if done well, it breaks their automated resistance. When habitual reactions crack, the door to dialogue opens. Write down at least 3 unconventional openers. Practice them in front of a mirror. Adjust speed and tone to sound like a genuine conversation, not a pitch. Each day, change your approach once and log how people respond. Watch their tone, word choice, and hesitation. You'll realize just a few altered seconds can completely shift the call's direction, making it more promising and under your control. But breaking the pattern alone isn't always enough. You'll also need prepared responses for familiar resistance. Part 7. Contingency. Proactively handling rejections. Most listeners will try to escape the call within the first 10 seconds. Responses like, "I'm busy now," "Call me later," don't reflect disinterest. They're default barriers, like a "do not disturb" sign on a door that's never been properly knocked on. Salespeople who aren't prepared for this get shut down immediately. After enough rejections, they begin to assume the customer has no need. That thought is the silent death knell of any sales career. The first approach doesn't always work. That's why you need a second layer, a backup pitch prepared in advance. When faced with a cold response, don't retreat. Instead, say something like, "I understand. If I could take just 30 seconds to explain why I'm calling," then you decide whether we continue. Would that be fair? A simple, gentle question that unlocks short-term agreement. You're not demanding time, you're inviting them to make a fair decision. The key lies in confidence and finesse. Don't let a contingency sound like begging. Show respect for their time while also demonstrating control over the conversation. Your phrasing, tone, and pacing must be firm, but not pushy. Effective communicators are those who stay composed through waves of rejection. When you've prepared enough backup scripts, your mindset shifts from reactive to proactive. You begin shaping the call's direction. Everyone needs at least 2 to 3 alternative approaches ready for rejection. Write them down. Practice. Record. Fine-tune every word. Build a soft defense system that's flexible enough to handle any situation. After each failed call, note the phrases you used and the responses you received. Over time, you'll develop a highly effective toolkit for situational responses. When you no longer fear rejection, you've entered the real sales game. Once you've passed through the door of rejection, the next mission is keeping the customer engaged in a real conversation. Part 8. Draw customers into dialogue. Occupy their mind space. One of the biggest mistakes in sales calls is talking too much. When you dominate the conversation, the customer checks emails, reviews reports, nods absent-mindedly. They're not truly listening. And if they don't speak, they don't commit. It's a basic psychological rule. Every attempt to present your product becomes a monologue, and monologues are the fastest way to lose attention. While you're trying to persuade with words, they've mentally exited the conversation, and you don't even notice. To shift from passive to active control, you must invite the listener in. Not with generic prompts like, "Do you have any questions?" but with psychological hooks. Phrases like, "Does that sound fair to you?" or "Am I speaking from your perspective?" compel a response. When they reply, they're pulled in. When they talk, they commit. Once the customer engages verbally, their mindset shifts from defense to active reflection. The call gains real momentum. Starting today, set a clear goal. Every call must include at least one response from the customer. Prepare 2 to 3 trigger questions in advance and practice delivering them naturally. Don't force it. Just ask like you would with a friend. Once this becomes habit, you'll notice a clear uptick in call retention. Don't just aim to deliver. Build a flowing dialogue. When customers talk, they start to walk with you, and when they walk with you, you earn a place in their thoughts. A great conversation only becomes a successful sale when it leads to the next step, where nothing is left in limbo. Part 9. Close the next step. Own the sales process. Many good calls end with vague promises like, "I'll think it over," or "Just send me the info and I'll get back to you." Polite, yes, but they're soft rejections. Without locking in the next step, you fall into a state of uncertainty, losing control of the process. The feeling that the call went well is an illusion if it doesn't lead to specific action. Professional salespeople don't allow ambiguity. They establish the next anchor while the call is still open. The key is to make the next step feel natural, not like a suggestion. Instead of asking, "When should I follow up?" say, "Let's set the next meeting now to keep the momentum going." When you lead the rhythm, customers follow. And once a follow-up is scheduled, you've turned a call into a chain of interactions. This creates continuity, a critical element in long-term sales. Every communication point must have a fixed checkpoint to maintain progress pressure. Always end calls with something concrete at time, a communication channel, and the focus for the next step. Write it down. Send confirmation. Remind them before the appointment. Turn this into a non-negotiable routine. No call should end in "up to you." When you control the process, you're not just steering the conversation, you're guiding the customer's thought process. And in a fiercely competitive world, whoever owns the calendar owns the advantage. In a world where most are caught in a spiral of call reluctance, procrastination, and pretend busyness, who dares to go against the tide? How many have the courage to truly pick up the phone, break the mold, and pour their energy into every single ring? It's not about technique, it's about grit. It's not about scripts, it's about attitude. Those who truly sell don't beg for attention. They earn the right to be heard. They don't ask for meetings, they create necessity. It's time to stop making excuses, ditch justifications, and accept one truth: success comes only to those who seize control of the game with every ring of the phone. Will today be another hang-up day, or the start of a new door opening? The answer isn't in inspiration. It's in the decision you make after the first ring. Thank you for watching the whole video. Please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos.